Breaking news, the Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed to CNN that federal law enforcement agents have raided properties owned by musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs.
What kind of energy? What kind of energy are you picking up?
There's just like darkness. I mean, it's in general, like I've always had weird feelings on this street.
Yeah.
This type. Well, the Playboy Mansion's down there. So I always thought it was the Playboy Mansion. It wasn't until probably a year ago that I realized this was Diddy's house.
Second time I met Oprah was at the Playboy Mansion. There's tunnels under the Playboy Mansion that lead to celebrities' homes. All kind of celebrities' homes.
Sean Diddy Combs is now facing 6 more lawsuits spanning 2 decades. Awful allegations, including some coming in from a man.
Did you catch what went down in Diddy's secret tunnels? The streets are buzzing about it, and even Piers Morgan couldn't keep it together. When I say Piers lost it, I mean lost it. We're talking jaw-dropping, eyes-bugging, can't believe it kind of reaction. Trust me, this tea? Scalding. You're going to want to stay tuned.
I think that the authorities came up with enough evidence to go into a judge by using the civil cases that has came upon him. So because they used the civil cases and found that there was some criminal activity that may have been found at some one of those people who, like Cassie, Jonathan Odie didn't have a civil case against him, but Cassie, Jonathan Odie, and Lil Rob, they used the evidence that they had or the statements they made and convinced the judge that there was enough probable cause to go in there with a search warrant. But the way they did the search warrant and how they did it, man, I thought he was El Chapo or somebody. You know, they took a tactical team in there, brother. They had tactical units. You understand? And it was for allegedly a sex crime. But they took, yo, my man, did you see the artillery and the way the Homeland Security came in there? My man, you would have swore, you know, it was going to be some gun violence up in there, how they came to it. So my feeling of it is that enough statements have been made that they could probably prove.
Picture this. Piers Morgan in his pristine studio chair, looking smug as ever. He's sipping his tea, probably prepping for another day of roasting celebs. But little did he know, the room behind the scenes was pure chaos. Papers flying, producers whispering, the whole place brimming with nervous energy. Piers starts his usual celeb chatter, brushing off Diddy's name like it's another headline. Then his guest drops one hint about these tunnels, and the whole vibe shifts. Piers' eyebrows shot up so fast you'd think they were trying to escape his face. Suddenly, this wasn't just another day in the celeb world.
Believe it, man. I'm still in disbelief by that video, man. Yeah, it ain't looking good for Diddy, man.
Oh.
Yeah, it might be over, man.
You can stick a fork in him. He's done. No Diddy, but you can stick a fork in him. He's done. There's no way that he could ever come back from this. He has to find a way to pay his penances with God. Do some charity work for domestic. I'm helping him out. You understand? Get rid of all these elusive preachers and everything, these TD Jakes and all that other bull crap. Get down with that down-home religion. Go and support some women groups from domestic violence. Support and do some charity work for women in battered shelters. Go and spend your life and your time helping men like yourself, once you take care of your business and get on your knees and beg for Ms. Wallace's forgiveness for putting the Notorious Big in that situation that he lost his life. That's a start.
What you think about Diddy drug mule taking a plea deal?
Well, what I believe and what I think, he wasn't just a drug mule, he was a plant. He's a CI. That's a confidential informant. He already had a case prior to him getting that case with Diddy and them. He probably already had a handler, somebody that he was just trying to work it out. And that's what he did.
You think he told him any information about Diddy?
Yeah, he got to. They're not going to give you a deal for nothing because you got caught with the drugs, because you say they was for Diddy and them. You got to give us something.
And you think they're using all that information to indict Diddy?
Oh, no doubt. They taking their time, bro. They working on this and they taking their time.
How you feel about the people that feel like, at this point, Diddy, his name is tarnished to the point that, his own kids, they can't benefit from his name?
I think because because Diddy built this whole aura that he was about family, his kids, and he was trying to make them great. He was trying to put them in certain positions and stuff like that. I believe that it's gonna hurt Justin. King Kong is out the window. It's gonna hurt him crazy. Quincy, maybe. It's gonna, people gonna look at them and say, yo, listen here, if we have them on movies, if we have them on this, what the mass public is gonna say. What is the public at large is gonna say about this? So a lot of people is not gonna want to even be involved in that because they don't want other people and to be involved in it. You get what I'm saying? No, listen to me. He done so much dirt to people and they kids. Why should people give his kids a chance?
Piers was all ears now. That tea he was sipping? Forgotten. His usual composed demeanor was cracking, and you could see the shock ripple across his face. The guest wasn't just teasing. It was a full-on spill about these infamous tunnels, secret parties, and backdoor deals that would make even Hollywood blush. Every detail was sharper than the last, leaving Piers gripping his chair for dear life. His face shifted between shock, confusion, and back to shock again, like a one-man emoji wheel. This wasn't just gossip, it was a revelation.
They did enough investigation. See, people think that when the federal government go in there on you, the reason they got a 99% conviction rate because most people say, they got me. They don't go to court with them. So for them to have a team in New York, because they didn't really mention too much about New York. They had property in New York, property in Miami, and a property in LA, all simultaneously hit. Those different agencies had to get together, plan that, and that's not no bull. That's a lot of manpower, a lot of money. So they want to know how they spent the taxpayer. The taxpayer's gonna know why you spending my money on this to come up with nothing. So you best believe they had something in the first place to go up in there, either through, like I said before, wiretaps. You understand? Because if they convinced the judge that they need a warrant, they had wiretaps, surveillance, and different things that was going on. And then, it's a lot of crazy statements that have been made. And you got to look at that interview that Jonathan Odie did, bruh. You know what I'm saying? That was probably more damaging than Cassie. And that was more damaging than Cassie, because check this out. He said Diddy was transporting liquid cocaine on his private jets. Now, the DEA wasn't involved in this. It was the FBI and the Homeland Security, basically. That's because of the sex trafficking thing. But if they find any of that stuff in any one of his houses, there's a problem. Even if they find illegal guns, the constitutional right goes the right to bear arms, but he had to have licenses for that. So if anybody got illegal guns up in there, if they find any kind of drugs to a high amount, cocaine and weed, I don't think Diddy gonna get charged, because what he did, he put everything in his kid's name and his company.
Did you see the video of his kids in handcuffs?
Yeah, that's a tactical thing. The kids being in handcuffs is a tactical thing that law enforcement use, you understand, hoping that people who've never been in handcuffs before, that it either scares them or want to make them talk. There's no reason after they searched those kids, because they didn't have a search warrant for bodies. They had a search warrant for like materials, laptops, telephones, logs, pictures, tapes. You know, that's what they search warrant is for. They didn't have a search warrant for bodies. So those kids, when they came out, they should have searched them, and then, yo, listen, y'all sit down right there. That was a tactical move to get them to talk and to scare them into saying something, you know, by keeping them handcuffed like that. They didn't have to do those kids like that. None of those kids have, that I know of, criminal cases against them or known for criminal activity. So there was no reason for them to do that. If them was the damn Rockefellers or somebody else, they wouldn't have had their kids handcuffed like that. But you got to realize their father has painted a crazy picture to the authorities. You understand? It's a crazy picture and people don't realize.
Piers' cool was officially gone. The energy in the studio was electric, like everyone was holding their breath. Each word from the guest pulled Piers deeper into this whirlwind of secrets. He tried to interrupt, to ask questions, but the tea was flowing too fast for him to keep up. The bombshells about Diddy's tunnels weren't just salacious. They were scandalous, earth-shaking, and undeniable. You could practically see Piers' brain short-circuiting.
Almost. Puff has been dodging the legal system for years. His affiliation with BMF, even though Meech has said that Puff never did anything, Puff never been around her, they still was partying together. So in the authorities' mind, they feel like Puff knew what Meech was doing. Then with the introduction to Jacob and different people, and a lot of people going to jail for money laundering and stuff like that, Puff being and this is documented, Puff being a CI for an FBI agent. I said this years ago, that him and Kirk Burroughs took some paperwork. They was taking some papers up to the FBI, so like when they was here in New York. They was taking paperwork up there and stuff like that. Don't know what it was, but later on found out that he was a CI. You understand? Now, what happens? He don't have that. The guy probably, that was 20, 30 years, 20-some years ago. The guy probably retired. Puff ain't dealing with him. No, he didn't pass Puff on or something like that. So now, Puff been dodging the legal system. With the people had it wrong. They think it was with the Black Mafia family. No, it was with Butt Naked. I said this years ago. The person that he said is his senior advisor Corey Jacobs. Corey had 9 16-to-life sentences for drug trafficking. You make him your senior advisor, even though that was your man, he coming home. That's your man, pots and pans. But Wolf was the one who took care of them when they was away. You know what I'm saying? Wolf was the one who took care of them. So now, you got all these, these characters, around you. What they gonna think when they come to your house? They got the evidence, or they had statements that you blew up Kid Cudi's car. You understand what I'm saying? They have statements that, you may have been affiliated with people being shot. So they come to your house like this. They treat your kids like this. Based on the picture you have played to the authorities. So them having his kids like that, I think that was wrong. After they searched those kids, make sure they didn't have no weapons on them, sit them down on the ground, make them feel comfortable, because at this time, they're not criminals. They haven't committed any crimes.
I see. Speaking of drugs, right? Because you made a comment about it earlier. How you feel about Diddy's drug mule getting arrested?
The news about them arresting the mule, now, they're gonna have to prove that. Now, if that guy becomes a witness, and if they can track anything back to Puff with that, that's gonna be one of their star witnesses.
Damn.
Because see, they will give him leniency. They were like, yo, listen, man, hey buddy, listen here. We don't really want you. We know you was just doing this to, you were doing this to take care of your family, feed your moms. You know what I'm saying? Pay your rent. We know that. This guy's living under this mansion, using you. Then that guy becomes a star witness.
Piers Morgan prides himself on being unshakable, but this time, he was caught off guard in the worst way. Every new detail from the guest peeled back another layer of mystery about these tunnels, hidden worlds of parties, deals, and secrets so big they'd make the FBI's ears perk up. His usual smirk? Gone. Piers' face told the story of a man who'd just been hit with more tea than he could handle.
Relevant here, seeing this law enforcement action taking place. I'll point out, just to be clear at the outset, we don't know that Sean Diddy Combs himself is the subject or target of a federal investigation. So it's just worth pointing that out at this hour. But what we do know is that 2 properties associated with him, we saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw on aerial footage, federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement. I'll read you part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just the highlights of what actually occurred. In November, he was sued for rape and abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly. But in December, he faced sexual assault allegations in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place back in 2003. He was accused of sex trafficking and gang rape, among other allegations, also in that suit naming 2 of his associates. Of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing there. And then just last month, a former employee of Combs filed a suit also in the state of New York, accusing him of sexual assault, of sexual harassment, and, quote, grooming. That former employee stated that he had worked for Combs between 2000 2022 and 2023. Among those allegations, this former employee, a male employee, said that Combs did not compensate him for his music production work and forced him to procure and interact with sex workers, threatened him with serving alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to guests at parties at Combs' home. And then Combs' son, Justin Combs, was also accused of soliciting prostitutes and underage girls at his father's homes. Again, the Combs have denied any wrongdoing, but just a series of allegations that we've seen taking place. Final point, Wolf, I'll note is that while we don't know the specific allegations or why the feds are at these residences, it is worth pointing out the agency that is conducting this law enforcement activity. It's not the FBI, it's not the DEA or the ATF. This is HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. For those unfamiliar, this is an agency that has long been the forefront specifically at human trafficking investigations. So although we don't have the specifics yet, we're starting to we can glean just based on which agency has the lead, the direction this might go. But again, we don't yet know that Combs himself was the target of the investigation, Wolf. We do know that at this hour that federal agents were at two of his homes, both here in Los Angeles and in Florida, Wolf.
Yeah, important points. Joey Jackson, now let me repeat, we don't know if Sean Diddy Combs himself is under investigation.
Then came the breaking point. Piers jumped up from his chair, sending papers flying, his composure shattering like a porcelain vase on a tile floor. The man who could grill anyone on live TV was now pacing, ranting, and visibly spiraling. Producers were scrambling, trying to rein in the chaos, while the guests sat there calmly, watching the meltdown unfold. Piers' voice, usually sharp and composed, was now cracking, his rant peppered with bleeps from the censors.
No, it's not, Wolf. And I think, whatever conclusions can be drawn remain to be seen, right? There's not an indictment that we're talking about. That means that we're not speaking of a grand jury having rendered a conclusion, not as to guilt. That's not what grand jurors do, but as to reason to believe that a crime was committed and he committed them. Having said that, whenever you have a raid and an investigation, these things need to be really predicated upon, right? The precursor for this to happen would be some probable cause. What is that probable cause? We don't know. But let's go back to what Josh Campbell talked about, which are those various lawsuits. Now, lawsuits are civil actions in nature. They're not criminal at all. But what they do is they give authorities some guidelines and guideposts with respect to alleged conduct that was engaged in, with regard to who it was engaged in, what activities there were, what it involved. And so that, if there's an investigation, could serve as a source of plentiful information. That information could be further investigated, right, by certainly this Homeland Security Agency. And as a result of that, they can work with their local law enforcement partners. What does that mean? It means that they, collectively, law enforcement, try to determine whether there's reason to believe that crimes were committed and, were those crimes carried out and associated in any way we don't know, with Sean Combs. And so that remains to be seen. But before authorities, Wolf, can get into the home or property of anyone, you have to establish some firm basis to do that. And that is what at least we can conclude, that they had reason to believe that there were crimes involving sex trafficking, apparently, and that these areas potentially can give more information with respect to the specifics. And I think they would be looking for computer devices and other devices which would seem to indicate or give information as to whether there was any criminality very early in the process. But certainly we know that these have been carried out, and we'll see what, if any, information is gleaned.
But Piers wasn't giving up. He was demanding answers, shouting about investigations, and trying to piece together this scandal on the fly. By the time the segment ended, Piers looked like he'd aged 10 years. His hair was a mess, his face flushed, and his breathing labored.
Circumstances would raids like these be conducted?
Well, this would require, if it is indeed a search that's being conducted, it would require federal officers, in this case with Homeland Security Investigations, going to a judge and seeking a warrant, indicating that we believe that evidence of a crime could be located in these residences. And then this third party, an independent judge, has to approve that warrant. And then you see take place what's happening now on our screen. I particularly want to focus on, you see that large RV-looking vehicle there. This is the mobile command post that federal agencies agencies will send whenever they're going to be somewhere, likely for a long time. I mean, if you look at these residences, we're talking about very large estates. And so, as Joey was mentioning, something as simple as a thumb drive or anywhere where electronic media could be stored, if it's on that warrant, authorities can search that residence top to bottom looking for any type of device, any type of storage mechanism that fits within the four corners of that search warrant. Now, again, I'll caution, we don't know specifically why they were there. It does tell us, I think, that, you know, just because you see that large posture of all of these federal vehicles that are there, including this mobile command post, this was likely not something as simple as an arrest where you show up and you find a person that you're seeking, but likely more along the lines of a search warrant, which falls in line with what HSI told us in that statement when they say law enforcement actions. That's something that we often hear from federal agents as a euphemism for conducting some type of search. But again, both of these residences, both where I am here in LA, it's just a few miles here from the CNN LA bureau where this search is taking place. Also in Miami, you see this large cadre of federal agencies descending on those homes. Again, the big question now, what are they looking for? We're waiting for specifics on that as this search continues.
And Joey, video also shows heavily armed agents entering Diddy's home. How unusual is that?
So it's not unusual. I mean, I think that what law enforcement does is certainly they want to be protective of themselves, potentially to deter any type of activity that could occur of a criminal variety. Not that there would be any, but you never know. And so as a result of that, once they're armed, not only armed literally, but armed with respect to a warrant, that would suggest that they have reason to be there, that there's criminality that would be afoot, potentially, they go, law enforcement does, and they make sure that the area is secure such that they can get any information from that warrant so that they can continue to investigate. Very important to note, Wolf, that these are investigative stages. Warrants are typical in any type of investigation, right? This is the United States of America. Everyone has rights. But you don't get into someone's home without establishing that there may be some what we call indicia of criminality. Law enforcement will evaluate whatever they find in connection with this search. And if that search bears fruit with respect to any potential criminality on any computer devices, any cell phone devices, any, thumb drives or anything else, then they will connect the dots. And if it's appropriate, they'll move to the next level. And that could lead to something more serious. Again, all speculation at this point, but we know now that they certainly had enough information to be in California and Miami. What stems...
When the cameras stopped rolling, the chaos didn't. Piers stormed off the set, muttering under his breath, while the crew stood frozen, jaws dropped. Social media exploded, Piers' meltdown trending worldwide within minutes. Every meme imaginable hit the internet, with Piers' bug-eyed expression as the star. Even celebs were chiming in, some laughing, others suspiciously quiet.
Access to parties associated with Combs and Bad Boy Entertainment. Now, in October of 2021, Combs' businesses picked up Doe from the airport and took him where the party was to take place. Plaintiff was immediately offered what he was told was a substance. He refused, but had one drink. Doe soon became disoriented and the room started spinning. He tried to leave, but a male voice told him to hold on, and he promised to help him. The next thing Doe remembers is him being in a bedroom, unable to move, speak, or fight back. Multiple men began to be there with him, doing things. Doe distinctly recalls seeing Combs above him without clothes at one point. Doe believes he was aided by at least 3 men as he could feel the difference from them each. Now, this guy also brought evidence here. This was what he alleged, photograph of an exemplary container used by Combs and his agents to insert the GHB into alcoholic drinks is seen below. Now, yeah, that's not helpful. Now, I don't know if this is something he got from the day. How would he have seen it afterwards? This is something he's showing to sort of show as an example of what it could have been, but still like effective to see this and realize, oh my God, this is so dark what they're doing, how intense this actually is. Yeah, they're even trying to include their own evidence. All right, now here we go. This is case 3, 2008. John Doe worked as an advisor for Echo Clothing around the time that Sean John was hitting peak popularity. Doe had met Combs several times in connection with the clothing line. Both lines were carried by Macy's. Doe was in the stockroom at a Macy's flagship store in Manhattan when Combs and 3 bodyguards entered. Doe was hit hard around the base of the neck, possibly with a pistol. He fell to his hands and knees, looked up and saw the bodyguards were armed. Multiple voices called out things like, "I will K you." Combs approached and said, "S my D, Echo." He was then forced to do so. He made derogatory comments like, "You like that white boy?" After he was finished, Combs threw plaintiff's head aside and said the words of effective, "Shut up or I'll K you." Combs proceeded to gather Sean John merchandise from the stockroom, headed out to the Macy's retail floor where he began passing out merchandise to an adoring crowd. Doe reported this to Macy's security and was told someone would speak with him, but no one did. 3 weeks later, the CEO of Macy's pressured Echo executives to fire Doe, as they had just signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Sean John. Doe is informed and believes that the report of the incident was destroyed or otherwise purged from Macy's records. Now, that's intense to think that Macy's was in.
News outlets scrambled to get the scoop while Piers' phone likely lit up like a Christmas tree. Meanwhile, Diddy was silent, eerily so. His silence only fueled a frenzy, with conspiracy theories multiplying like wildfire. Piers Morgan, the king of celeb takedowns, had just been taken down himself, and the world couldn't look away.
I have a clip right here.
There's an overarching theme here, as you probably can see, which is basically Sean Combs feels like he can do whatever he wants.
Combs' legal team have not commented on the latest string of suits.
They have. I'm going to show you that in the end.
Which were the first from Texas attorney Tony Busby, who claims Diddy won't be the only celebrity named in future lawsuits.
Certainly, there will be people named in these suits that will raise some eyebrows.
Last week, a federal...
So here's what Diddy actually says regarding these cases. Diddy's legal team is pushing back. Attorneys tell TMZ the press conference and 800 number that preceded today's barrage of filings were clear attempts to garner publicity. Reference to Busby, who says he's representing 120 alleged victims. I mean, sure, that's part of winning a case, though. And I don't think this guy, who's a legit guy, is going to risk his whole career if he didn't have legit things coming in. Now, Diddy's legal team says in court the truth will prevail, that Mr. Combs has never essayed anyone, adult, of any age, man or woman. So, yeah, looking forward to that day in court. We will see what happens. Excuse me. But yes, 4 of the accusers were men. 1 was 16, 2 females. As we showed you those details. Oh, look at this guy. We're going to be talking about him again this week. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss that video. I got to talk to some lawyers before I make that video. So, like I said, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that bell for all alerts. Smash that all when you hit the bell. Smash that like when you get those notifications, and leave your comments down below what you think. Look, it's hard to just believe all people that come forward, because there's going to be some people who are going to just try to get a payday. It's true. However, what we've seen in that video with Diddy and what we're learning, what we heard Usher admit to at those tapes, there's a lot of reasons to just not buy this, Diddy's response. He's going to have to defend himself pretty vigorously to break this. And the silence from all the celebrities is deafening. Typically, celebrities, if they were confident, no way, Diddy's a great guy, we would support him. There's not a word. Nobody wants to support this man right now because they know, oh, damn. And that Cassie video proved it. He lied about it. So if he can lie about that, what else is he lying about? He's lost all credibility now. That's the problem. That's why when he made that statement about Cassie and everything else after settling,